Yes.
Did you turn it in?
It been turned in.
It was, and she went ahead and credited you for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I'm streaming. So you're probably wondering, what am I doing now? Well, I'm making a pistol. Boomy. I Boomy. I Okay, let me just make this gray. Let me just add a couple of materials. Then assign this. Then add another one. should I call this thing? A boom boom blaster? I want to see if I can get LG on this. Don't me again. Okay, this no. LJ. Yeah, buddy, come on. Now I probably just want to open Unity. Where is Unity? Unity. Aww. Okay, there we go. Unity. Now I want visual code. And this is for my game. Wait, no. New file. This is for my game. Wonderful. Okay. Did she respond to it? Nope. He's offline. Okay. Minecraft guns. Whoa. Okay, that just messed up my blender. Hey, now I can just export it as a VX. Skip new version. Desktop would be in desktop downloads. Nope. Documents. VFX. VF. Okay, wait. Where did I save VXF and VXF at? VBX. Wow. In documents, and it's on. Wow. Okay. It's the U, so it should be close. Nope. Ah, there we go, buddy. I forgot how to do most of this stuff in Unity. What? Delete. Child. To be honest, I kind of hate it. I can't move it. What? Okay, let me move the gun, please. Why? I kind of hate it, to be honest with you. How does that look, buddies? Yeah, Now I have no clue what to do. I have all this. Time to look up a tutorial. Okay. 3, 2, 1. I think Google will understand what I tried to say. Oh wait, no, this is Firefox, and mine won't understand. How to make a object follow camera Unity. Not what I wanted.
Hello. In this video, we're going to learn how can our main camera follow the player. First, look at this simple game. Let's play the game, and if I move or press the arrows on my keyboard, my player is moving, but my camera is not moving with the player. Let's see how can we achieve this. The simplest way is just put your camera under the player and start the game, and as you can see, my player is moving with the camera. If you are curious how I am moving this cylinder or player, you can see my previous video in which I taught.
Nope, I don't really need that tutorial anymore. What? Main camera. Okay, so I definitely need to open sample scene. Okay, can I add this? Oh! Jeez, Unity is smart. Okay, wow. I did not realize Unity was that smart, to be honest with you. I didn't even know I'd place down the camera with it. Is this better? Okay, where's the main camera at? Okay, it's right here. Huh. Main camera. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. And now the main camera can just go over there. Now it should be following this, yeah? Okay! There we go. Now I just need to code it. Fun. As though she responded yet. Nope, okay. Why is it my info? Just posted. Coding movement in Unity. I don't care if I spelled movement wrong.
First-person games are of course extremely common, and there's actually a surprising lack of information when it comes to creating solid first-person movement. So in this video we'll have a look at creating a character controller, the theory behind it, and how to make it perfectly fit your game. But first, this video is sponsored by Aptudi. One thing that has always been very difficult when publishing a mobile game is getting it onto the Chinese market, which is the biggest mobile game marketplace in the world. With Aptudi, this has never been easier. They offer several different publishing package solutions. With the basic plan, they take care of publication to 3 Chinese app stores and translation of the first 1,000 words for free. They monitor the application each step of the way and can help with IP certificate and Chinese publishing license application. Their Super SDK allows you to use the same build for multi-store publication, which is just extremely convenient. Get started by clicking the link in the description and use the coupon code BRACKIES2019 for a 40% discount on upgrading from their basic plan to ISPP Plus for access to more stores. Also, special thanks to Infinity PBR for his support on Patreon, and with that, let's get our move on. But before we actually start creating the controller in Unity, I think it's a good idea to have a look at some of the theory. So in general, movement in Unity can be done in 2 ways, using the character controller component or using the rigid body component. And both definitely have their advantages depending on what you want to do. Now, the main problem with creating a universal character controller that works for everyone is that what you want your character controller to do completely depends on your game. Of course, everyone wants movement, but there's also gravity, jumping, drag, in-air movement, handling slopes, handling steps, sprinting, crouching, and interacting with physics objects, just to name a few. And some of these are easier to do with the character controller approach, while others are much easier with the rigid body approach. In fact, there's also quite a few things that you don't necessarily think about, but are pretty important for the movement, such as adding a ground check to know if the player is currently standing on the ground, and adding logic to make sure that the player doesn't get stuck on walls. Now, over the years, I've tried hundreds of different ways to create character controls. So for the sake of this video, I think we should boil it down to the most simple way of getting some really nice controls that can still handle movement, gravity, ground checking, jumping, in-air movement, steps, slopes, and that doesn't get stuck on walls. And without a doubt, the simplest way to do this
entire player around the y-axis. This allows us to turn around. If we move our mouse on the Y or up and down, we don't want to rotate our entire player. We just want to rotate our camera on the X axis. This allows us to look up and down. Now, it's a good idea to limit the rotation of our camera to 180 degrees so that it doesn't flip to point behind the player. This is called clamping. Alright, with that in place, we can go ahead and select our camera, and here we want to add a new component, and let's call it mouse look. Let's hit new script and create an ad, and let's double click it to open it up in Visual Studio. Now, the first thing that we want to do here is go into our update function, our camera, and here we want to add a new component, and let's call it mouse look. Let's hit new script and create an ad, and let's double click it to open it up.
Okay, it's in there.
In Visual Studio. Now, the first thing that we want to do here is go into our update function and gather some input based on our mouse movement. So we'll go ahead and create a float called mouse x and set this equal to input.getAxis, and the axis that we want to
Float. Mouse X. Capital X. Okay.
get
Equals input. Equals. Oh wait, no.
is the
Dot. Get dot x. Is mouse. Mouse.
Mouse x-axis. Now this is of course a pre-programmed axis inside of Unity that is going to change based on our mouse move. Movement. If you want to see this for yourself, you can always go into Unity, go Edit, Project Settings, Input, and here you can see the mouse x-axis. Now, Unity is currently redoing the entire input system. This here should work for a long time, but if you're getting issues, definitely check out our video on the new input system. So we'll go ahead and gather that input here. We'll also do the same for the y-axis. So we'll create a mouse y and set it equal to input.getAxis mouse y.
Oh, okay, so once I have this thing, I definitely know what it. Okay, so that's how the code. That's how you win the code. Wait, you just. Okay, now you click enter. And there's no space, right? Yeah, no space. Okay. Now it's float. Mouse. Wait, was it capitalized? If it was capitalized, okay, good, it wasn't. Y equals input dot get access. Then it's this mouse Y.
Of course, it would be nice if we could control the speed of our mouse. So let's go up here. Let's create a public float called mouse sensitivity. And let's just default it to 100.
Mouse floats under public class. Okay.
Long time, but if you're getting issues, definitely check out our video on the new input system. So we'll go ahead and gather that input here. We'll also do the same for the y-axis. So we'll create a mouse y and set it equal to input.getAxis mouse y. Of course, it would be nice if we could control the speed of our mouse. So let's go up here.
Okay, so it's right there.
Let's create a public float called
Public float mouse. Public float
mouse sensitivity.
Sit. Ivity. 100, right?
Let's just default it
Equals 100F.
to 100. Then, when we gather the input, we can simply multiply with our mouse sensitivity. And because we're doing this inside of the update function, we want to make sure that we rotate independent of our current frame rate. To do that, and let's just default it to 100. Then, when we gather the input, we can simply multiply with our mouse sensitivity.
There's, where is it? Control C. Control V.
And because we're doing this inside of the update function, we want to make sure that we rotate independent of our current frame rate. To do that, we also want to multiply with time.delta time.
Time dot delta time. Time dot delta time. I remember using that.
Remember, time.delta time is the amount of time that has gone by since the
And there was this.
last time the update function was called. And so we can multiply with this value to make sure that if our frame rate is high, we're not going to be rotating quicker than if our frame rate is low. And let's just do the exact same thing for our mouse Y. Awesome.
Okay, so I can just copy that. Control C. Control V. Perfect.
So let's start by having our mouse X, or our mouse movement from side to side, rotate the entire body of our player. Of course, in order to do this, we need a reference from our main camera to our entire first-person player object so that we can rotate it around. To do this, we'll simply create a public transform, and let's call it player body. Then inside of our update method, we can now access player body dot rotate, and here we can specify an axis that we want to rotate around. So we're going to rotate around vector3 dot up, so our y-axis, and let's multiply that based on our mouse X. And if we save that and go into Unity and link up our player body, we can now look around using our mouse
Okay, that's cool.
X movement. So next up, let's implement.
So if I do Control S, I know I'm not moving a body in it. An error has incurred. Okay.
In order to do this, we need a reference from our main camera to our entire first-person player object so that we can rotate it around. To do this, we'll simply create a public transform. Let's call it player body.
Body.
Then inside of our update method, we can now access player body dot rotate.
rotate. I might about to put radiate row. Rotate. What else?
And here we can specify an axis that we want to rotate around. So we're going to rotate around vector3.up. So our y-axis.
Victor 3.
This, and let's multiply that based on our mouse X.
Mouse X.
And if we save that and go into Unity and link up our player body, we can now look around using our mouse X move.
What? I did everything right, though. What? Oh. Yeah, right. I wasn't looking for rotation. Wait, yeah, I was. But why? Why don't it work? What did I do wrong? Whoops, Control S. Control Z. Okay. Aww. Confusing. I did everything right. What did I do wrong?
Movement. First person player object so that we can rotate it around. To do this, we'll simply create a public transform. Let's
Okay, let's see.
call it player body. Then inside of our update method, we can now access player body dot rotate, and here we can specify an axis that we want to rotate around. So we're going to rotate around vector3 dot up, so our y-axis, and let's multiply that based on our mouse X. And if we save that and go into Unity and link up our player body, we can now look around using our y-axis, and let's multiply that based on our mouse X.
found the error. Control S. I might have found the error, I don't know. Sensitive. I'm gonna compare it to this. I'm just gonna compare it. F. What else? That's right. That's all right. That all this is right. Control S. Are you gonna work now? Maybe. Probably not. Most likely not. Yep. Player body dot rotate. Victor 3 dot up.
And
Hey, I did all that right. That was flipped equals input dot get access x, yeah, dot mouse sensitivity time to time. There's this too. Still not gonna work, I bet you. Yeah, it didn't work. To be honest, I have no clue what I'm doing wrong.